Right, folks, welcome back to Brew Time. And we've got Peter here, Peter Riley from Helite UK. How you doing?
Good, thanks. Thanks, Bruce. Yeah, all good.
Awesome. Thanks very much for coming on, man. Appreciate it. We've known each other professionally, I suppose, for, must be, was it 2 or 3 years now since you gave me a vest?
Probably just years
Probably a bit more. Yeah, it's frightening how quick the time's flying by. Yeah, you were put on to me by Lee Vigor, Buddy the biker dog.
Yeah.
It was all his fault.
Quite a character, and he's turned into a bit of a star man for us, really, being truth. And he
flies the flag.
I like him because he knows bikes and he knows everything inside out. And I don't, I'm learning, I'm still learning, but we know a bit about airbags. But, but talking about bikes and, he's amazing because his experience is vast.
Yeah, folks, if you're not aware, Lee is actually, he's one of the few professional bike testers and developers out there. So when a manufacturer comes out with a bike, generally, not so much now, but back in the day, before it was released en masse to the public, it would go through years of testing where it was just given to people and they would ride the bikes in all situations, all road surfaces, really abuse them as much as they possibly could to try and, break the bike effectively and break the systems that are involved within the bike. Not that many manufacturers actually do it anymore. Triumph is one that does do it. And Lee and his wife both work as professional bike testers. There is a podcast. I'll link it somewhere in the description. But he was an interesting chap to talk to. Just as a quick bit of an update, well, not an update, bit of background for you folks with regards to Lee. He put me on to Peter and Helite and the air vests because he was wearing one when he had quite a catastrophic accident. I think a car pulled out on him or something like that. But the doctor actually said to him, if you weren't wearing that vest, we reckon you definitely wouldn't be walking, but we probably think you wouldn't have survived it. So he swears by them now. He's a big advocate for air vests. Anyway, Peter, let's find out a little bit about you and about Helite and about air vests. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself then? How did you get into the game where you are now?
Been in the rag trade all my life, really, and it's over 10 years ago now. It's probably 13, 14 years ago. I was in the police and the public sector business, supplying the police with all sorts of stuff, body armor of which was one of the products that we supplied. So we're into body protection. So and funnily enough, a guy introduced us to Halversons, and we became. I became the UK representative for Halversons for the public sector. It was being sold in the retail market successfully by their setup. They had a good setup with a guy called John running it. I've forgotten his surname, John, sorry. But we got it from the public sector. So that's how I got into the motorbike trade, really. And they had a very successful product at the time with the public sector because it passed one of the abrasion standards, which nobody else could touch, which was EN 13595 level 2. And
of course, naturally.
We sold that very, very successfully to the public police, quite a few UK police forces, and the military. So that was how that opened the door to the police market. And then I had an amazing experience in Northern Ireland at the Northwest, where I was actually doing something different. I was playing golf, hands up. Okay, all right, I'm a golfer as well. Playing golf, and we were there, and the Northwest was on. And I had an amazing experience there, which I'll never forget, which is quite interesting, really, because we were down on the seafront at the Northwest watching the bikes come down. We're sitting in a bar on the corner on the hairpin, in Port Stewart. And I'd never seen anything like this thing. We'd walked into the town and, bikes were flying up this road at, 80, 90, accelerating out of the hairpin, and started watching it. And I was mesmerized by it. I was absolutely mesmerized by it. And anyway, I'm standing next to a guy who clearly knew a lot more about the Northwest than me. This would be 12, 13 years ago. And it's kind of a tragic story, really, because I said, what's the lap record? And he said, it's about 5.5 minutes. So I said, what? So he said, 5.5 minutes. So I said, well, hang on a minute. It's a 13-mile track, isn't it? Or 12 or 13-mile track, this. And my brain is starting to work average speed, which, of course, is colossal because it's over 120 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Average speed. And they're going around the hairpin in front of me at about 25. I don't know, not much faster than 25. And so that's incredible. So I put a clock on on a guy in a bright green suit. And he went round, and he was only about 4 or 5 seconds outside the lap record. And I thought, he's good, isn't he? And I nudged this fellow next door to me. He said, yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's dead quick, he's dead quick. Anyway, he went round once, he went round again, and his lap time came down. It's a tragic story, this. I'm not sure we should have started with tragedy, Bruce, because one or two people might have rumbled it already. And anyway, that was the end of it. He didn't come round again. Anyway, we went for a Chinese. We're having a Chinese. The waitress is serving us halfway through the meal. She's in tears. And she said, oh, no, it was Robert Dunlop. But it was the night Robert Dunlop died in the practice lab.
Yeah.
Of course, the following morning, what was the following morning, it showed his suit, and he was the guy in the green suit. And that mesmerized me, and that I've never forgotten. I'll never forget the story, and that introduced me to the motorbike trade. And wow, we have it's a frightening way to get involved. I mean, it was an tragic way to get involved, but it kind of fascinated me, and our business has been really, we've done a lot of work in the north of Ireland. And I sort of got to know quite a lot of the road racing fraternity, although we don't sell that much into the racing industry. Helite are much more focused on mainstream bikers. But
gotcha.
So anyway, that's a way I got into the industry. But the other way I got in was because we were doing police and military stuff. I bumped into the guy who was working for Helite. Under the brand name Point 2, and he'd taken the motorbike product that Helite are making into the equestrian market, and he did incredibly well between sort of 2008 and 2012, selling the Helite motorbike airbag into the equestrian market.
Wow.
And it really took off for eventing and cross country, which are two specific disciplines within the equine world. And so I met him, and I introduced him to the factory we were using in Bulgaria for manufacturing, because we're making technical police equipment. And that factory actually still today makes a lot of the Helite air vests. So that was, and I met Gerard, the boss of Helite, through manufacturing. So, that was it.
Right. Because Helite originally, is that correct? Helite, the actual main company, are they French? Is that right?
Helite, yes. It's interesting as well. Helite is light, as in lightweight, because they still build microlight aircraft. It's not a big part of the company now, but they're training microlight aircraft, and the owner of the company, Gerard Thiboneau, who is a microlight pilot, very microlight pilot. In fact, he's the first guy to fly a powered microlight from France to the UK.
Really?
Anyway,
he sounds an interesting bloke. Should get him on here.
He's very. He was building microlight aircraft, and because he was building them and designing them, he was making components. And he's the first to admit that he didn't always get his components dead right, and that means that when you're in the air, if something isn't quite right, you can come down quite quickly. And so he had a rather nasty crash in one of his microlights and decided he would build an airbag for his microlight, because that was the answer to the trauma impact.
Wow.
And everybody, Gerard, that is a brilliant idea for microlights, but do you know how many microlight pilots there are in France? And he went, oh, yeah, not very many. Not very many. So
niche market.
I think I'll do motorbikes. And actually, that was how he started. And that's 20 years ago when he started building airbags. And he built a very small French business, mainly motorbikes, in France until 2008, when it started going well in the UK with the horses. So it was an interesting way into the market, but but he is a guy.
I should have said at the start, do you have very rude of me, do you have a splosh of choice, a drink of choice for the evening at all?
I don't have one here, but I don't think you can see my shelf behind me. There isn't one.
Is that a little can on there? Yeah.
But I'm not going to open it because it's a very special can, because it's actually got somebody in our family on it who is an actor. Anyway.
Oh, wow. Who's that?
Sam Riley.
I know that name. Why do I know that name?
He's a great guy and a great actor. He's not famous, He's in. Oh no, not memory. No, don't go. Please.
So I put you on the spot.
Magnificent with Angela Jolie.
Oh wow!
He's a character in that Disney film. So that was his leading.
Okay. Yeah, you rescued it. You rescued it at the last minute.
He was in Control for music fans. He was in Control, which was about. Okay. It's a great film.
Gotcha. Anyway. No worries then. Well, I have a little tipple off to the side here, but I'll.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I'm not going to spoil my because I'm keeping.
No worries at all. Peter, we could not have timed this chat better, I think, because I'm sure you're aware there is a real hot debate going on at the moment within the industry about protective clothing, particularly armour, not so much air vests, but Ryan F9, obviously from Fort9, he's just done a vid about how he's basically saying he's just not going to bother with armour anymore. Yeah. He does say that he'll always keep his vest, but he says he's not going to bother with armour. Now, Bennett's, in return, have done another vid today, I think it went out, or yesterday, basically saying some of these points aren't quite correct and we want to counter these, and they're obviously very pro armour. Very interesting vids, folks. They're well worth watching for sure. I'm definitely keeping my armour in, but both of them sing the praises of air vests. So can I pass it over to you, Peter, because you're the expert here? What's the benefits of wearing an air vest?
Well, I just so that everybody's aware, I'm stick with your armour, guys. That would be my advice.
Absolutely.
Where I would try and use this to explain something a little bit more about trauma. Why Ryan is basically, I don't want to say the wrong words here, but not enthusiastic about armor is the amount of trauma that can go through them if you hit something hard.
Yes.
Why I would say to all bikers, for goodness sake, stick with your armor is because it has a great effect. It's very useful in a slide. And when you're sliding down the road, you can hit all sorts of things, random objects. And whilst, although the trauma element of it isn't great in the armor, the effect when you're sliding is for me is a win-win. You should stick. Where it's really got interesting, and I can hold something up here. I don't know. I don't really want to hold this up too far, but this is about trauma, and this is where I would speak on the subject. It's a report commissioned by the world's largest airbag manufacturer, which is Autoliv, and they make car airbags, just so that everybody's aware. But because they're an enormous company with 69,000 employees, so it's a global enterprise. So for them, doing a little test on motorcycle airbags is a good idea, and it's an enthusiastic report which is available. It was in German, and I've translated it on Google because it came out in December in Germany in the Motorrad magazine. There's just two things which are really significant about it. It hits that they, in the test, they hit a crash test dummy, which obviously they have dummies because they're building airbags, they're building car seat airbags. They hit their crash test dummy at around 15 miles an hour, which is not fast in the world of motorcycling.
No.
And they hit their dummy at 15 miles an hour straight across the chest. And one of the frightening statistics, and when they do that, it compresses their dummy, who is more squeezable, or wrong word, but more compressible than our human chest is, by 66 millimeters. I'm told by doctors and surgeons that if we impregnate our chest by approximately 60 millimeters, we are done for. When on a motorbike, because our chest, that's a crumple effect, which is too big for the chest, and it damages too much of our internal organs. So anyway, in the test, the dummy goes 66 mil of trauma in the dummy when they hit the dummy with no protection on at all. They then hit the dummy with an EN 1621 level 2 chest guard, and the trauma is only reduced by 1 millimeter.
Wow.
Now that is the basis, in my opinion, of Ryan's having this attitude towards armor. Because, in other words, the 1 millimeter isn't really working in a chest guard in a head-on crash against a bar impactor that hits your chest in the middle of the chest. And the report goes on to suggest that motorcycle airbags are in fact not a gimmick and a very good idea, because the range of items that they test considerably reduce the trauma to the chest of the dummy, ranging from 10%. I'm not going to choose to mention brands at this stage, Bruce. I don't think it's quite my position.
No problem. No worries. Other brands are available.
No, brands. I think probably you're more allowed to do that than me. But anyway, brands. I can give you the brands afterwards. It's not a problem. From 10% to somewhere to one brand, which I'm very familiar with, which is reducing it by approximately 35%.
Wow!
So significant trauma reduction. So all anybody who is listening to the podcast, who is umming and ahhing about an airbag, there is statistical evidence proving beyond any doubt that the airbag is having a beneficial effect in a trauma crash on the upper torso. There is no question about it. You know, one of the things that gets me out of bed early every morning is our testimonials. We get hundreds, Bruce. We get hundreds.
I was going to say that, but I've had a quick read through some of the questions, and people ask that.
Yeah. And it's a very positive thing. So we're very fortunate that we're involved with a product that is, without any doubt, I mean, ask Lee Vigo, as you mentioned at the beginning, having a very beneficial effect on a motorcyclist in a crash. And it is my opinion, and that is all it is in my opinion, that the airbag is now the second most important purchase for a motorcyclist in 2024. After a helmet, a quality helmet is essential.
Yeah.
After that, it's my opinion that an airbag is number two because of what it can do for you in an accident, which are unpredictable and random, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been wearing the Helite E-Turtle one that you gave me a couple of years ago. So that's the electronic ones, folks. You can get two different types of vest with Helite. One is where you're tethered to the bike. So every time you get on the bike, you connect this tether to your vest, and then that's like a physical connection. Should you come off the bike, when that pulls, it's like a detonator almost. It activates the vest. The E-Turtle one, the one I have, because I can jump on various different bikes all the time, that has like an ECU, a little computer on board that has, what is it? Is it like a 6-axis gyro or something like that that's inside it?
It's a motion sensor.
Okay, so it's got the motion sensor inside it, folks, and it detects. You'll be able to give us the figures here, Peter, but like in milliseconds, it'll detect that sudden movement and then it ignites. Yeah, thankfully, so far, I've not tested it. I kind of had been waiting to see, just what happened. I wanted to use it for a year anyway. I wanted to use it because I ride in all weathers. So I wanted to use it throughout the year, give it a right good hammering and just see, how does it cope? How does it do? Well, we're now probably even almost 3 years later, and the vest still works fine, although it did detonate. I sent you an email about it. It detonated on the Eurotunnel. That was my fault, because in the instructions it tells you to switch it off. Yeah. and I didn't switch it off, so that's my fault.
Monday morning in the summer, the phone rings. You're not going to believe this, Peter. Yeah. My vest went off at the weekend. Did it, sir? Did it? Now, I kind of know what's coming next.
Yeah.
Where were you? I was on the Eurostar. I was on a ferry going to the Isle of Man.
Yeah.
It's gone off all over the place. But usually it provides amusement.
Yeah. Do you know, that crossed my mind the first time I used the tunnel. I thought, I wonder if this will have any effect. So I had the cameras running the first time I used the tunnel, thinking it'll be good content. At least it'll show it going off, and it didn't. And I use the tunnel loads, for my tours and stuff. And so it just never popped into my mind after that. And then this time, when it did actually go off, I'd taken the vest off, I'd put it on top of my bike, and I was through in one of the carriages chatting away to people. I think it was the last tour we did, actually, September time. And as we were pulling back into Folkestone, I've come back into my carriage, and there was a couple there. And they just said, "Oh, hello, are you the guy off YouTube?" They're chatting away. And the lady said, "Oh, is that an air vest? How are you finding it?" And I said, "It's brilliant. Love it. Really good. Been wearing it a couple of years." And at that point, I just picked it up off the bike as the train stopped, and it just went bang. I was like, it's never done that before.
Well, it doesn't like that motion, you see. That's
it was, yeah.
The algorithm. It's a motion that isn't allowed. You build algorithms with thousands of hours of testing a motion on that bike.
Yeah.
And anything outside the allowed, and I'm afraid that wasn't allowed, that
it's doing its job.
It's done its job. So,
yeah, absolutely. And as you said, it says in the instructions, switch it off for the transport. And I didn't do that.
But, I think it's important while we're on the subject of motion sensors and algorithms. This is a science that isn't perfect yet. It constantly will be improved. And if we were sitting here in 10 years' time, which I have a feeling we won't be, Bruce, but if we were, they will be better again. They're just going to get better. The algorithms will continuously improve because it's data they need. They just need more and more and more data. And the more data you put into them, the better and more accurate they get. And it's a good news story for the consumer, I think, going forward.
Definitely. How is this data fed back then in order to improve the algorithm?
Well, we have the Helite head office has got a load of tools that we don't have here, and they continue to test. They are continuously testing. They take back product. We send it. If something's behaved rather strangely, if yours had behaved strangely, and I'm afraid it didn't, yours behaved predictably. If yours had behaved, we've had 3 or 4 unexplained inflations. I'm happy to say that, because it's only 3 or 4. It's not 300 or 400. And those we send the sensors back, and they check everything over and try and find out what's caused the accidental inflation. But touch wood, I am able to say that in the UK we've had no non-inflations where the customer's really disappointed because it hasn't gone up. We had one borderline one where a guy turned around in the road and skidded, but he's probably not going 12 to 15 miles an hour. He's probably not, but he thought he might be, but he wasn't sure. And it went off in that scenario. It didn't go off when he slipped off.
Okay.
But we haven't got a lot. These are not happening a lot. And that makes me very happy because, it's very difficult for us. We can test basic testing here. But when it's complicated, we have to send it back to France, and the lead times can be slow on getting the data back to the customer.
Yeah, got you.
So fortunately, not touch wood, not too often, but and a pretty positive story. We've had trouble with chargers, and that was something that we've learned as we go along. Our vest, when you charge them up, they don't like fast charging. They just don't like it, and they kick back. If you put 50 volts into it and too much ampage into it, it doesn't like it, and it reduces the battery life very quickly, and very quickly then they don't charge properly. So we've learned that, and we're putting extra warnings now on our charging mechanisms.
Do you know that had never actually registered with me, but now you said it, I suppose the charge time, the usable time I'd get from the vest when I charged it up, that could vary from 3.5 days to a day. And looking back, it's probably because when I charge my vest up when I'm on tour, I'll just, I've got a big long extension lead because I charge up my laptop, my cameras, and all the kit. So there's various different extension leads on and plugs on there and adapters. Some are fast charge, some aren't. So it must be when I plug it in on a fast charge, that means it's not going to get the full charge. Okay, I've got you.
And the most vulnerable plugs are the multiple plug sockets where they just have 2 USB ports in them.
Yeah.
There are a lot of different products on the market. Yeah. And some of them, some of those USB ports have got a lot more ampage going in than the others. And it's impossible for our customer, to know what is right and wrong. So anyway, we're just giving a lot more warning now as we go along. And we're getting to grips with that charging problem. But very lucky.
One thing I can say, folks, having worn a vest now for a couple of years, pretty much every time that I've been out and about, I haven't worn it when I've been off-roading. I didn't wear it for off-road, but for road riding and the track especially, the thing I notice now is when I don't wear it, you feel naked. Like it's almost like you're really chancing the luck here. If you go out on a bike and you've not got it on after you're used to wearing it, it's like I don't like this. It's like riding without proper gear. Feel like you're in your flip-flops and shorts or something. It's mental how it gets into your head. I've come home before because I'm like, this will be that one time when I need it. So you come back and put it on again. Sorry to interrupt, folks, but just a quick shout out for this week's sponsors, who are, as always, Ultimate Add-ons. Ultimate Add-ons have been back in the podcast for the last few years, and I've been using their products since probably around about 2017, 2018. They specialise in phone holders, so both the mounts that attach to your bike and the protective cases that your phone goes in. Now, these cases are shockproof, they're dustproof, they're the perfect things to put your phone in whilst you're on the bike, and even if you do have a mishap, your phone is nicely protected inside that case. You can still use the phone, you can still use the touchscreen, you can even still use the cameras. They do a wide selection of mounts. I use the ratchet strap, which is actually in their cycle section, but you can pick any one you like for your particular bike or a generic one. It's up to you. Ultimate Add-ons are also doing a number of other accessories, things like action camera mounts. They're also now doing heated grips. They do things like a balaclava, USB, USB-C, power adapters, lots of different things. Head to their website, check out the products, and if you use the code TeapotOne with the number 10, TeapotOne10, then you will get 10% off. A massive thanks to Ultimate Add-ons for all your support. And a massive shout out to all of you over in the clan, over on Patreons, patreon.com/TeapotOne. I literally could not do this full time without your support, folks. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for going that extra mile with your support. You're also the backbone of the Brew Time podcast with all your questions. So keep them coming and we'll go from strength to strength. Peter, there are loads of questions. I think the current situation with F9 and Bennett's has helped that, but there are lots of questions. So how about we crack on and work our way through them and just see where the conversation goes. Okay, lovely. Right, folks, first off, we'll go to the clan over on Patreon. So that's patreon.com/TeapotOne. What I've seen here, Peter, there are lots of people just saying how they've met you. You've done talks at various club events or they've chatted to you at shows. One is here, Paul Simpson. Met Peter, he did chat for our IAM group. Very interesting presentation. Next one, average bikers in a cave. That's the lads up in Scotland. Not a question, but we met him at the Scottish Bike Show and let him know the small fits the wife perfectly. Love the rucksack option. Oh, yeah, that's right. You do a rucksack one now as well, don't you?
Yes. Yes, look, folks, it's sold out. It's got something to do with that gentleman that you mentioned earlier in the show.
F9, Ryan.
Yeah, crikey, he's amazing.
Yeah.
Our problem
huge reach.
Our problem is getting them now, which we're on it, but we've just had a delivery in today, and by tomorrow they'll all have gone. So.
Wow, really?
Oh yeah, the whole lot. So it's incredibly powerful. I mean, I think it's a. Oh, I don't want to upset anybody. We the social media elements of today's world are very powerful, very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
It can be quite expensive advertising in the magazines. Don't want to upset editors or anybody else listening, but the magazines are not cheap for us to advertise in. And whilst we've got products that are really interesting products, like the rucksack is a really interesting, new, innovative product. And advertising it in all the magazines is very expensive. When somebody bangs it out on a podcast or a blog, it's unbelievable if he happens to like it, and he happens to like it. So,
absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's very powerful, and it can be powerful in a multitude of directions. Just
because he's Canadian and he speaks English does not mean it's England, America, and Canada who get the benefit. It's amazing how quickly it goes into Germany, France, all over Europe. It's the same. It's translated immediately. And so unfortunately, when he promotes something, all the markets run out. It's not just us that get the benefit. It's Germany and France and the whole lot.
Fantastic. That's brilliant.
Good. All good.
Right. First question, Andy. Evening, gents. Bought my first vest back in 2019 after a short trip over a Fiesta bonnet, and to date, I haven't had the opportunity to test it out. However, I've got a few questions. Should I be getting my vest serviced or checked? I've got the E-Turtle. I haven't, and as I've recently swapped my main helmet, I realised that I changed my helmet twice since I bought the vest. So regular sort of maintenance or servicing.
Yes, please. E-Turtles. Look, if it's a mechanical turtle, I'll start with mechanical and I'll come to it. I haven't forgotten the question. If it's mechanical, if you're a leisure rider, it isn't necessary to have it serviced after 2 years. If you choose to have it serviced after 2 years, we extend the warranty to 4. So Helite have decreed this year we are no longer going to service 10-year-old products.
Mm-hmm.
So that is to do with the airbag not being the same after 10 years. They get slightly more brittle. And as they get brittle, the risk of them cracking in an inflation goes up. So they've said, right, 10 years, that's it for mechanical airbags. Right. The reason that with e-turtles, I would recommend a service after 2 years. And the reason for that is the software has been upgraded since they were introduced. So you're getting an automatic software upgrade as part of the service. Mm-hmm. So for that reason, I would do that. Helite are very keen that we will shortly. Now, shortly can mean 1 year or two, in my opinion, about when it will be available, that we're going to download, we can do software upgrades down the internet. So that is our objective, to be able to give the customer a software upgrade down the internet.
Yeah.
I think at that point, it's likely to be chargeable. But at the moment, there is no charge for a software upgrade when it's part of a service, which is £65. So, yeah. But that's why I would recommend having an upgrade for an electronic product, a service up to 2. I would do up to 2 because I think it's the right time.
And let's just see what his next question was, in case it's what I'm going to ask. Secondly, how long is the canister good for? And finally, do you? Okay, we'll cover that. How long is the canister itself good for?
The canister it's a CE safety product that we're selling. It's PPE. And in the regulations, we have to advise the consumer to change it after 3 years.
Oh, okay. I timed that well. It was about 3 years, I think, when it popped.
If I wasn't on camera, I might say something else to you.
Gotcha. All received.
Might be. We've never had a broken canister in the last 10 years. We've never had one that's leaked. Mm-hmm. Okay, so, but it would be advisable to change it after 3 and keep the other one for a spare.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah. Valid point. Take it on tour with you, for example. So if
in your pannier, if you're going on tour, whilst Helite is all over France, it's if you're in France, and that's very often the first place people go. Take the spare with you because it's a roadside change.
Folks, if you're not aware, one of the beauties with the Helite ones in particular is that it's not a one event and done affair. If it does ignite, then you simply let it deflate, and then you can just roll up the airbag back into the vest itself, unscrew the old canister, screw in a new canister, bosh, you're off, you're ready to go again. It's not like some of the other ones where you have to send back to the manufacturer for it to be like reprimed again. With the Helite, it's pretty much, if you've got another canister with you, off you go. So if you're on tour, for example, and you do get an activation, well, if you're still fitting well and the bike's okay and you can ride, then screw in another canister and off you go. Beautiful. Last question from Andy. Finally, what do you think of the fact we have to pay VAT on bike safety gear, except helmets? I wasn't aware of this. I didn't know that.
Well, not very much is the answer. This is a small company. I'm very fortunate to be part of a small company. We've saved the NHS millions, no exaggeration, millions. One traction injury where a guy gets hurt on coming off a motorbike and finishes up having traction because he's damaged his spine, I'm told by surgeons, can cost up to £250,000.
Wow.
Well, we must have saved well over 100 already. It's like, and so I understand, why VAT? It's just one of those items. Do you know what? It was unfortunate that when Helite launched in 2008, they took advice on the VAT element with the revenue. And the revenue said, it's a leisure item, VAT. And it's unfortunate because I have a feeling that if we had no sales record at all and we were starting today with a product that was doing maybe well in Europe, I think, there is one brand. Can I mention it, Bruce?
Of course you can. Say what you like on here, mate. Say what you like.
With D. There is no VAT on their airbag components in a jacket.
On Dionysi? Why was that then?
Because it's a safety item, and the Italians have interpreted that indifferently to the UK.
You got to love Europeans, Italians and French.
Anybody's listening, don't misunderstand. That is on the airbag components in a jacket.
Oh, okay.
So the jacket, it's got an airbag in it. It's just the airbag components of that.
The components, yeah. Okay,
so because of it's a safety item.
Mm-hmm.
And,
obviously, over here, the revenue, with the inland revenue, they obviously are going to be seeing the basically the money that's being generated from the VAT on these vests, and they're not going to turn that down now, are they? Now that it's established and it's only going to grow, they're not going to go, actually, do you know what? You can be VAT exempt. I doubt it, unless it's to win an election somewhere.
have to be careful. They are a customer of ours.
Are they?
Inland Revenue have covert bikes. I don't know if you knew that. Maybe I shouldn't say anymore.
I pay my taxes. I'm all genuine. Don't worry about that.
You're all
I've already had somebody grass me up on YouTube for speed, so yeah. I pay me taxes. Right, cheers for that, Andy. Next one, Mr. Giggles. Now, I have read this one from Mr. Giggles. I think it's an attempt at humour. Did he think his invention would blow up like this? Given the current economy, how does he handle inflation? Very good, very good. Okay, don't give up your day job. Next one, Patrick Collum. So, having watched several vloggers and lately Ryan of Fort 9 fame question the logic of bike armour as opposed to alternatives, my question, do you think that Helite's technology will become widespread with more gear using this instead of armour in elbows and shoulders?
We could build an airbag system to cover the whole torso. And the reason that Helite produce a vest without shoulder protection is your body heat. Because as soon as we in the trials that Helite have done, where we've covered the shoulder, the customer's getting to, we found heat as the issue. So that's why we don't cover the shoulder. So yes, to the gentleman, yeah, we can cover the whole body. The problem is the heat. Until one of the products that hasn't been launched yet, and if I was an inventor or if I was somebody who wanted to try and make money in selling into the motorbike trade, is a cool vest. Nobody has made a very efficient cool vest yet that keeps you really cool when it's 35 degrees outside and you're riding in a hot climate. And if somebody did that, then we might extend the size of the airbags significantly because we could cover more of the torso with the airbag. We can do trousers now, as you're probably aware.
I've seen them, yeah.
We Helite are building the airbags for the new trouser, which is a great innovative product, and it's doing the hips and the back of the coccyx really well. It doesn't go below the knees. Same reason. It's getting complicated and too hot if you go too much airbag. So we're covering more of the body, and in fact, Helite are bringing out a new vest, which is coming further down over the hips, which is really helpful. But so the answer to the gentleman really is heat is the problem if we cover the whole body with something that doesn't breathe.
I get asked that quite a lot, actually, about the vest. Is, how hot is it? Now, obviously, I'm very lucky in that I get to go all different places around the world on a bike at times. I spend quite a bit of time out in the Canaries. And there, I think it's been up into like the mid-30s there. Spain, I've had it into 40s, believe it or not. And what I've found with a vest is anything over about 25 degrees, that's when I notice it, because it does restrict the airflow. So I'm wearing my big rucker kit most of the time. So that's pretty hot and heavy anyway. But, it's got vents and things like that you can open. With the vest on top of that, once it gets mid-20s and above, then I start to notice the heat quite a bit. But I have worn it up into 40-odd degrees, and it's not killed me. I'm still here. So I would rather be wearing it than not wearing it, if you know what I mean. But so for the UK, it's never been an issue for me, to be perfectly honest, like heat from wearing a vest. That's not been a factor for me. And I've worn it in the peeing rain as well, and people ask about rain affecting it. Well, it's still ignited on the tunnel, so it still works. No issues there. Right. Who was that? That was Patrick. Right, yeah. Next one is Lee Vigor. Hi, both. Hope you're well. As you know, I've known Peter since 2016, and 2018, he saved my life. He'd argue that he didn't, that it was the air vest. But I say he definitely saved my life because he convinced me to wear one. Question to Peter, what's the next new product to make life safer for motorcyclists?
Well, the new Super Turtle or the Double Turtle is on its way. It's going to take the bar up a little bit higher.
Right.
So in answer to Lee's question, and we made a mistake, and if any of our customers are watching this who've ordered one, we made a mistake at Motorcycle Live in saying we quoted what we were quoted by Helite, which was December or January delivery. And those poor customers that ordered them at Motorcycle Live are still waiting, Bruce. So get that off my chest. And sorry to all of them, but the product is coming. But it's the Super Turtle, and it incorporates the chest guard, because the turtle is a turtle effect, which I'm sure, Bruce, you understand is basically a turtle has a hard shell outside. Mm-hmm. But the magnificence is with the turtle is that when you inflate it in an accident situation, because the airbag is between the spine and the back protector, it turns that back protector, the turtle hard shell back protector, into an impregnable trauma board, which you cannot press a back protector against an inflated airbag, which is giving it its amazing performance. So the new turtle has a chest guard.
Wow.
Which will have the same effect. It also uses a bigger airbag system, which, because it's coming down to do the hips, so it's adding to the areas of body coverage. So therefore, it's taking the bar up with safety. And had that been put into the test that I mentioned earlier, the Autoliv test, that will take a 35% improvement, probably into the 40s or even 50s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and I wouldn't be surprised if it went a little bit further, frankly, because by using a bigger airbag, the bigger canisters. Bruce, I don't know which canister size yours is, but I have a feeling.
I've got the big one.
I thought it was. So the big one is in the size medium and large.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a bigger airbag system, and therefore it's giving even more trauma impact protection. So
I'm going to need like a scuba canister on mine then.
Well, that's the answer. That's the answer to Lee's question. So that's the next one. That's the next one in the line, and that will be out. Hopefully later this month, to the people who might be watching who are customers. I'm still sorry to all of them, but thank you for their patience for waiting so long. But
can I ask, what's the sort of retail? What retail are you looking at for the?
Look, we're expecting the RRP. We're waiting for the European RRP to align the pound with the RRP in France, but we're expecting it to be up €100, between €100, around €100 up. So it's going to be taking the regular vest in black, which is $550, to around $650. That's what we're expecting.
Gotcha.
So it's not cheap, but then these things aren't. But
for something that effectively could save your life, but almost I would suggest even more importantly is that it could stop you being paralyzed. Do you know what I mean? Like if you survive it and you're able still to walk, well, it's paid for itself, isn't it? Absolutely. Question again from Lee. Says, question to both. If your house is on fire and there's only one thing you can save, what is it? That's a good question. That's a good question.
Yeah, it is a good question, isn't it?
My wife, obviously. My wife and my dog.
Good answer. Good answer. Snap. So please listening, Snap. My wife first. Obviously, then, I don't know. I don't know. Most of the airbags are outside, if that's what it is. So they're not inside. What do you say? What do you say with the house on fire? I don't know.
I mean, to be really practical, it would be like either the keys for my bike or my phone, because I do my life on my phone.
Yeah, we'd probably pick up a phone on the way out.
Yeah,
you might remember your wallet and your cards. You might.
That's a good point. But then I can pay for everything on my phone now.
So you don't need it. Yeah, very good.
And I don't know about you, but I can't remember phone numbers anymore or addresses. Like back in the day, I could remember phone numbers. Can't anymore. Not a hope. Not a chance. Yeah. Phone. How shallow is that? Oh, I will.
Sorry, Lee.
Yeah, I know. You were probably expecting great things, Lee. I'm sorry about that.
What great answer is expecting.
Lee's parting comment. As ever, Peter, you're a top man. Thank you for saving my life. Next question. Debbie Clegg. How you doing, Debbie? Hi, Bruce. Hi, Peter. It was nice to meet Peter at the NEC last year. Ian says hi too. And much appreciates the lone vest until his orange one arrives. My question. What's your favourite bike show to attend, and do you ever get the chance to just be a guest at these shows? As it's obvious the total dedication you have to Helite, I won't ask your least favourite. So, favourite bike show?
Easy. ABR. I mean, we've just enjoyed it. I think it's on a roll. I don't know, but my personal opinion is it's on a show. These shows can go up and down over the years. They go up and down, and that one's going up. And there's a lot more people going this year. I hope it doesn't spoil it, because why we like it is the customers like it so much more than a lot of the other bike shows, because the opportunity to do more and get involved with bikes more is why they've gone. And I like ICMA. I don't want to. We love Motorcycle Live, please, and please keep going. We love it, because it's very good for a small brand like ours. But ICMA's a real bike show. The frightening thing about ICMA is that the cost of getting on a train, say from Scotland to the NEC, you can get on a plane at the airport and fly to Milan for a lot less than the train, and see a bike show which is 5, 6, 7, 8 times as big as most, 10 times big. Yeah. And the variety of stuff, you always see things at ICMA which you think, oh, that's interesting, and that's new and innovative and different. And then we're always looking at airbags, obviously, competitors' airbags and everything. At ICMA, I mean, the Dan Easy stand at ICMA is fantastic, and I work for Helite, but their innovation and their technology centre that they occasionally have at ICMA it's absolutely space age, and it's fabulous. And I think it's exciting, and I think it's a shame that level of innovation that can't be coming to Motorcycle Live. But they worked very hard on it, trying to get them over. And but those are my favourites. I don't want to go into my least favourites because it's
it's interesting what you said there. I 100% agree. ABR is just I think it's what the biking scene needed in this country, because with the best will in the world, the NEC. It's just ticking along, isn't it? There never seems to be anything particularly different at the NEC. There's nothing ever jaw-dropping there about it. It's just, it comes around every year. The London Bike Show, all the feedback I get from people is every year people go, it's the last time I'll go. But they do go back because it's a bike show. But it's just, there's nothing special there. The ABR, every year, for the last 3 years, it's just got better and better and better. And it's an event, isn't it? It's a real event when you go there. It's a lot of fun, loads to do.
Yeah. It's just got a vibe about it, and I think it's an exciting vibe, because the show is everybody seems to be enjoying themselves.
Yeah,
they're not disappointed, which unfortunately we have to cope with at some of the other shows. I would say this, Bruce, while we're on air, my daughter went to a trade show in Las Vegas, in a trade hall in Las Vegas. And the problem that the MCI, the problem with the motorbike show is the NEC. The NEC is now hopelessly outdated. Right. In Las Vegas, all the walls are electronic. There's video everywhere, and it's all interactive. So, above our stand would be constant video of our video, all about us and our, an interaction for the consumer. You're walking around and there's screens everywhere.
Yeah,
that is the problem, and that has got to be addressed by the major show venues. It's got to be addressed by the NEC, and it's going to have to be addressed by Excel as well, because it's the same. There is not why do you have to have a white wall in today's world? If it's an exhibition, it needs to be an interactive wall. It has to be. And when you do that, then you can change the consumer reaction, because it becomes a whole different experience where you can get personal phones involved. There's all sorts of things you can do with interactive, and so that's what's going to happen.
Are they doing that at ICMA?
More, but no,
not to the level,
not to the Las Vegas, in fact, which was just a recent trip out there. She went out there last year, and she came back shaking her head, saying it was fantastic. The hall was fantastic.
And we're also sponsored by the Influencer Store. Now I've got some blurb to read out for them. The Influencer Store helps you build your brand, big or small, providing you with a solution and apparel. We help you to increase your fan base while supporting you with starting your own influencer clothing line with nothing more than just an idea and a design, and there are no hidden costs. For more info, come check us out at theinfluencerstore.co.uk or drop us an email at online@influencerstore.co.uk for more information. Now, all my current merch over at TeapotOne.com, that is all handled by Roger and Charlotte and their family over at the Influencer Store. So thank you for all your support. And lastly, a big shout out to all of you who are either watching a podcast or listening just now on your platform of choice. If you can like, share with your mates, tell people about the podcast and help spread the word. That really does help. And if you're listening on things like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, if you can follow and leave a review or rating, 5-star is preferable, of course, then that would be absolutely fandabidosi. All right, folks, let's get back to the podcast. It feels like it needs to change, like the whole bike show, not festival, but the bike show type event, like the NEC or the Excel. That format just needs to change because it just feels like it's a dying thing now. As you said, I think people do expect more. Maybe we don't expect the level that you get in Vegas because we've never been exposed to that. But as you say, once people are, they'll be like, yeah, I need this. I want this.
Yeah.
Interesting. There was another question from Debbie. She just says, cheers, looking forward to this. Brew Time is back on top form this year. Best wishes, Debbie and Ian. Thanks very much, Debbie. Glad you're enjoying it. Next one, David McCracken. Great products. I have a high-vis version myself, which I like. First question. At least one other company uses a dystopian monthly subscription service to keep the airbag vest activated. Does Helite plan to go down this route, or are you sticking with the current sales model?
No chance. Helite is
God, you said that.
No chance. There's no chance because the microlight pilot that is the boss of Helite has no plans whatsoever to do that, and he likes being different. His passion is airbag safety for the torso. That's his passion, and so anything that is simple is his barrow. He doesn't want anything complicated, anything technological complicated. There's no chance Helite are going to go down that road.
Lovely
It's
job.
a possible thing that software, you will have to pay for software upgrades within 2 to 3 years for electronics. But I can assure you they will be deliberately pitched well below everybody else's in cost. So it's not something that customers should worry about. And it'll be a one-off payment during the service.
Yeah, got you. Well, that's good to know for sure. Question 2 from David. People might suggest that these types of products are expensive, but I always argue that the development costs are huge, so the purchase price is entirely justified. Can you place a rough figure on your R&D and certification costs for the turtle vests?
It's colossal.
I would imagine it is.
Fortunately, we're a sales company in the UK, so we're Helite UK. We're purely we're the sales office for the UK. So our R&D is not significant. It's a basic office cost R&D. Helite's R&D will be for the turtle will have been, I would think, around 200 to 250,000 euros.
Mm-hmm.
Which is they're not that big a company. So that is a very significant amount. And it's not just the testing. The testing is also very expensive now. If you want to certify a product in Europe, which we have to do as PPE. I mean, I know we're not in Europe, but we certainly are in respect of the airbag situation. The testing's really expensive, and you make any changes. You want to change your product. We're always constantly trying to improve the products. The changes are expensive. If you've changed that test report, it's got to be recertified. It's an expensive game, and I think the R&D costs. So if you look at the R&D cost of Helite, it's at least it's at least a tenth of a jacket.
Wow.
So out of £500, it's 50 quid.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that is whilst Helite is getting bigger, and so that the R&D cost may well come down gradually. It's never going to be nil for anybody, and we live in a world where we're expecting the Chinese or somebody to produce a cheaper basic airbag. They're available. You can sometimes get them on Amazon. Please don't, customers. Please don't, because they are absolutely not safe. Please don't get them. But we're expecting the prices to go down, but I don't think it's in reality it's going to come down much. Airbags were made mandatory, which I don't think they will be. Absolutely don't think they will be. then obviously there'll be huge volumes produced. Yes, I could see the cost coming down then by 20 to 25%. You know, if everybody had to buy them, I could see them coming off 550, 600 down to the fours, maybe even late threes, but not 200s. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But that would only be in a huge increase. We think, we don't know, Bruce. Do you know how many airbags are there in the UK?
No idea. I tell you though, I do notice more. Certainly, since I started wearing one, whether that's because I'm wearing them now, I notice other people that are wearing them. But certainly, I would say within the last year, 18 months, I see a lot more people who come away on tours with me or come to do like meetups and ride outs and things. There's a lot more people wearing them. So in my eyes, it feels like it is getting more and more popular. Because it was almost like, it's that macho thing, I think, before. People were just like, I'm not wearing an air vest. I think that seems to be almost gone. You're still going to have a couple of cavemen out there, aren't you? But I think most people realise the benefit of it, and if they can afford it, they'll get one.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. It's like one of those things, isn't it? It's like, you know, I've had some big offs in my time, and it's only after you've had the off that you start thinking, oh, God, you know, like, I wish I had one of those air vests that one of my mates was wearing and I took the piss out of him because he was wearing it. Then you start going, okay, maybe that would be something I should invest in rather than titanium bolts for my screen or something. Sorry, go on.
The development of the airbags going on, we're entering new markets. So obviously, with the off-road one is now, airbags are mandated for off-road rallying. The Dakar,
that's interesting. Yeah,
you have to wear them. So obviously, we have an off-road race suit now, which is we're testing in motocross.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, the feedback is good. But Helite are going into downhill cycle racing.
Wow.
Where the consumers are filling the hospitals at the weekend in the same way that sometimes bikers and horse riders do, downhill bikers. So that's going to be an interesting area, and that's going to be another area where that's a younger market. You know, the problem for the motorcycle industry is the aging consumer, which with time will address that. But going into downhill racing will bring it into a much younger consumer's notice, I think, very quickly, because there's a lot of people careering down mountains now, and that's going to be our next sort of new area. And there'll be spin-offs into motorcycling from that.
Even just with off-road, the maths and physics that must be involved for the algorithm, for the processors to deal with. I mean, it's just, how does it deal with that? The amount of variables that must be involved there. Because the sudden movements involved with off-road and downhill mountain biking must be so much bigger than normal motorcycling. I can't even begin to imagine how the processor works that out.
Imagine the complexity of the algorithm. It's far too for me. Please, everybody. I
just about work my phone.
I don't even want to think about it. It hurts my head. Well, Helite, one of the things that will come with the downhill cycling is obviously the algorithms are there, and they're working quite well with the off-road motorbike suit, but they're going to add an electronic lanyard. The lanyard products of Helite are activated with a 30-kilogram pull, which means downhill cycling, they're far too powerful. They just take the bike with it. If you're in the air and a 30 kilo tied to the bike, it won't part company.
Yeah.
So it'll be an electronic pull cord to double to make sure more eventualities are covered. You know, if the algorithm is allowing certain violent movements because it's decided to allow them, and you go too far, the pull cord will be on. So it'll be a twin firing airbag.
Gotcha.
It'll be we're doing quite well in off-road by, you know, there's certainly the public sector. The police are careering around off-road, chasing various people off-road, and so I think that the variety of airbags will be increasing, rather than just Helite.
Now, In terms of the airbags themselves, obviously various manufacturers, as in clothing manufacturers out there, I'll say it, Dionysi do them, Alpine Stars do them, you know, all the big hitters tend to have airbags integrated into some of their product lines now. But they're like one main or two main manufacturers that do those type of airbags that are integrated into that clothing line. Does Helite do similar? Like, do you integrate your technology into any of the other big clothing brands, or are you just standalone Helite? These are the vests. If you want our vests, buy Helites.
We have done. We've built airbags for a number of larger corporations over the years.
Right.
So
you can't give right. Okay.
No, we can. Yeah, there's one going on at the moment which I shouldn't. No, I can't. No, shouldn't.
Right. No worries. No problem at all.
But certainly in the equestrian world, we're building more and more products for other companies.
Okay. Right.
So Helite are quite happy doing that. The basic growth of Helite is good. It's the side effect is that we're not going to make as many jackets, which is a shame. You know, I'll put my toe in the water with the AAA rating.
Right.
You've mentioned Rucker, Bruce.
Yeah,
well, there's an awful lot of police officers in the UK wearing Rucker jackets who are going to be told that they can't have them anymore.
Because of the slide rating.
It doesn't pass.
Yeah, have they not? Has Rucker not addressed that, and they've put these new patches on? Yeah,
it is the slide rating, but it's not a AAA. You know, and I'm really on the side of Ryan in that respect. I'm very anti. It's my opinion that the clothing standard of manufacture has improved so much in the last 10 years, even including imported cheap brands. Their manufacturing standards are way better than they were 20, 30, 40 years ago when things just fell apart because the teams were not good enough for the motorcycle industry. And so the industry quite rightly focused on getting all that right. And I think they've done a great job. But I think now we're at a stage where, as an airbag manufacturer, telling somebody they can't wear a Rucker, you know, just because it doesn't pass us. I'm sorry. I don't know who's listening. I'm sorry. I just don't agree. I don't think that is the right way forward for the industry to go. So Helite will not be producing a number of jackets for that reason. Too difficult. Too many complicated stretch fabrics to make the jackets expand. Too complicated, the standard. And too expensive.
I had the folks from Roadskin on here, and they were chatting about the certification, everything that you have to do, and saying just how it's not flexible in any shape or form when you go for this certification. So if you go for AAA, but your item actually only makes AA, they won't just award you a AA. You have to go through, you fail, and you have to go through complete certification again. And as he said, everything costs a lot of money. So a lot of companies are actually downgrading what level they're going for. What they were saying is that their items would actually do better, but it won't. For example, they err on the side of caution and just go for the AA rating, because if it fails the AAA, it's going to cost them a fortune, to recertify.
Yeah.
It just seems ridiculous.
They say, that's what
exactly.
We're selling a product that saves people's lives. Thank goodness for that.
Exactly.
How many lives is being saved by the vastly improved abrasion rating standards? Because I'm not convinced that that's the way to reduce KSIs. We want to get KSIs down in the UK. Got to use airbags. It's just the greater use of airbags is one of the only simple ways of doing it.
Now, there's a really quite jaw-dropping statistic or fact even about the airbags. Now, for track days now in the UK, you have to have a back protector, but they will say if you're wearing an air vest, you don't need the back protector. And now the air vest, is it something like 8 times or 9 times more effective than a back protector?
And look, it's an approximate calculation because it's difficult to calculate it precisely. Gotcha. An air vest with no back protector can deliver, depends on the trauma angle, basically, the angle of the accident or what hits where and how it happens, but can deliver at least 8 to 10 times less trauma. That's an airbag on its own.
Yeah.
The Turtle, however, when you put a back protector behind an airbag or put an airbag between the spine, as I said earlier, That's 50. That's 50 back protectors.
That's incredible.
So that's a heck of a lot, and that's why these products have got a future. Yeah, 50 is a significant change. That's a country mile safer for a consumer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you see in the professional racing now, MotoGP, World Superbikes, that sort of stuff. They're coming off the bike at over 200 miles an hour at times and get up and run away and then try and pick the bike up. You're like, that's insane. That's absolutely insane. Bit different when you move to like road racing and you're hitting lampposts and things, because that is blunt trauma, isn't it? You know, like that's the real opposite end of the extremes of our sport. But I mean, you can't deny the safety, the added safety effect you're going to get from these vests. So, you know, if I was you folks, definitely have a look at, can you justify not investing in them? You know, that's the way I would look at it, is like, can you justify, you buy a helmet, and I'm assuming most people out there will get the sort of best helmet that they can. Some people will go for the cheaper end of the market. I appreciate that. But, you know, if you want to be safe, have a look at the airbag technology, air vest technology. You're saying you got the rucksack. The rucksack, obviously, that's all sold out now. But have a look at the rucksack, folk. That's really quite interesting. It's basically a rucksack you wear that has the air vest integrated into it. And I'm assuming the development of the different products that will come down the line, it's only going to get more and more versatile and more practical. You know, so it's not like the old days where you're basically putting on like a life preserver and carrying that around. It's not like that these days.
Oh, it will get cleverer as time goes forward. And it's very one of the points about we've an aging motorcycle consumer in the UK. When we come across the young customers, they are interested in airbags. It's very encouraging to see they are interested. Yeah. And fundamentally, the younger consumer, if he can afford it, he's buying it. Mm-hmm. But we aren't seeing anything like enough of him coming into the marketplace, but we do meet them at shows and you know, online and all the rest of it. So so we're excited by their attitude, which is actually they've thought about it more than a younger consumer. A younger consumer 30 years ago, they wasn't available. So you know,
they're growing up with it being available, whereas you know, us and the older ones, they're probably still pissed off the fact that they've got to wear a helmet. You know, it's one of them.
Yeah.
Right, last one from the clan. Chris in Dubai. Hello, gentlemen. I've had the electronic Helite backpack for about 6 months, and it's great for obvious reasons. My question is regarding travel. These CO2 canisters are considered dangerous goods according to some very complicated rules. Do you have any experience with traveling with these on a plane?
Yeah, and we have a document for the gentleman. The air vest is a life-saving device, self-inflating, and I forget the classification, and therefore it is exempt from the Dangerous Goods Act. So an air vest with a canister in an aircraft is perfectly legal and safe. The problem is the information. Yeah,
I was going to say, good luck getting that on the plane.
And whilst we don't want to encourage any dishonesty in an open podcast, it is my advice to anybody who is listening not to tell an airline. Put the vest in your suitcase, not in the cabin, please, because you won't get it through. But in the suitcase, and say nothing, because if you ask an inexperienced baggage handler who is handling your suitcase, she shows you the card. Are any of these items on that card? And CO2 canisters can very often be on that card. And if you say yes, and she doesn't know he or she doesn't know the rules, they'll just say, no, you can't take it. Now, what are you going to do? You can't argue. You're going on a flight. You're checking in. You're checking your case in. You are going to lose your product. And a number of people have lost product by being too honest, because it feels dishonest to say no to the question, have you got any of these goods?
Yeah.
But it is perfectly legal. We have all the legislation to prove it. And nobody has any trouble, except all customers, all people listening, going to Argentina, Peru, and Peru. Where's the other one on the far side? Chile.
Okay.
The rules are different there. Sorry, I'm sorry. You may have to leave it at home because they will not play.
I actually have first-hand experience to an extent of this with the canisters. Yeah. Now, I haven't been traveling with the air vest. So when I've gone to the Canaries or if I fly somewhere to go and ride somewhere, I've left the vest at home. I've not taken it with me because I was coming back from the Canaries. So I was at the airport. I checked in. I'm waiting for my gate to be called and my name got bing-bonged. So I had to go back to security. So I went back to security, got met by 5 old Bill with guns who took me round the back to where all the luggage is, brought my bag out and not at gunpoint, but with the hands on the guns said, can you open that bag for me? This part here. Is there anything in here you need to tell us about? So I'm like, because I carry my laptop, my batteries, everything in my rucksack. It weighs a ton. But for the airport, I carry everything in there because it's lithium. And I was like, no, I don't think so. And they said, right, okay, open this compartment. Opened that compartment, and it was a puncture repair kit. It was my, the plug and play thing, which I always have with me on a bike. And I've flown like dozens of times with it in the hold in the bag. Opened it up, and obviously there's like 6 canisters in there, CO2 canisters. And they were like, no, this is a bomb. You cannot have this on the plane. So I was like, oh, so sorry. I've been doing it for years. Didn't know. So I said to them, oh, look, listen, I've got an air vest, one of these air vests. And one of the coppers was actually a biker. And he was like, oh, yeah. And I said, does that mean, can I not fly with it then? And he said, you can't put the canister in the hold, but just unscrew the canister. And if you have that on your carry-on baggage, it's fine. You can take it on. But I thought to myself, I've got a bag full of lithium batteries. I'm not going to have a canister next to it as well because they're just. I'm going to get the rubber glove treatment getting on the plane. So that's why I've not taken it on the plane. But he said to me, canister on with you on the plane, vest in the hold.
Well, it's a good point, but I've got to say, the life-saving device, self-inflating, is a law. It's a classification to prove that the air vest is not dangerous goods, and they accept that when we fly them round the world, we fly with a specialist courier because he was the guy who introduced me to the standard, and these are completely legal, and they're flying them all over the world. And there is a problem when we do that with the canisters not in the jacket, because then it's a different classification. Then it's a CO2 canister on its own.
Yeah.
And whilst the gentleman that gave you the advice in the policeman in the Canaries, good luck with that. I've taken canisters. I've taken garments with me on the aircraft and forgotten to take the canister out. I've never got one through yet. Through hand luggage.
Yeah, that's what he said to me. He actually let me take.
There's one man that has, but never got one.
He actually said to me, you can keep 2 canisters and, just take them with you on the plane. So I think I had them in my pocket. I literally had 2 canisters in my pocket when I got on the plane.
And no problem?
No, none at all. None.
So you're the second man then. So I've been unlucky then.
But then I will say this, I'd already gone through security. So it's not like I'm going through security again. Yes, that's a good point. Yeah, so I didn't actually go through the security search bit with them in my pocket. I'd done all that already. So I just literally walked from this.
Well, I hope we're not confusing it, but basically in Europe, put them in the hold. You should be fine.
And where would people get, if they wanted to print out that bit of legislation so they had it on them and they could show it?
You, Bruce, if you want to have it, in your portfolio of products, it's just something that's come from Emirates, I think. So, it's the Emirates rules. And they're a big carrier, aren't they?
Okay, I'll put a link. If I get hold of it, folks, I'll put it somewhere and put a link in the description. So if you do want to fly with your vest, perfect, lovely job. Right, that's all the Patreon questions. There are still quite a few over on Instagram and Facebook. Have you got time, Peter?
Yes, far away. Yeah.
Excellent. Do you need a natural break at all? Or are you okay?
Not at the moment, Bruce. I will. At the moment, I'm absolutely fine. So that's great.
I'm well aware of gentlemen of our vintage. Sometimes we need a little break every now and then. Just yell if you do. Don't worry about it. Okay, so we'll head across to Instagram, which is at TeapotOne Insta. I'll put all Helite socials. They'll all be down below as well, folks. So there's quite a few over here. Airhead Rick. Does Peter have any testimonials from riders who have crashed wearing the vests? Type of crash and what the experience was with the vest used in anger. I'm really interested in these, and I don't own one yet.
Well, the gentleman that rang in slightly earlier, Lee Viger, has the finest testimonial of all, because I think it was an oncoming bus or a stationary car at 52 miles an hour was his choice. Those were his choices. And he's a professional rider. He chose the car and he hit the car at 52. How do we know that? Because he was testing a Triumph bike with sensors on it. And so it went from 52 to 0 very quickly. And Lee did break both of his legs and his hip, and he was badly mangled up, and he was airlifted to the John Ratcliffe Hospital in Oxford. And the bit that Lee didn't tell you in his very modest appraisal earlier on was that when he got to the scanner, they obviously had a report, and Lee was barely conscious, but he was conscious. And the surgeon knew it was 50 miles an hour. And so they put him through the scanner. And, he went through, and there was no broken bones to his upper torso. And the surgeon didn't believe the result of the scanner and put him back through twice more.
Wow.
Because he couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And so, whilst that is an exceptional case, we have one. We have one this morning. I don't know whether I'm clever enough to find it immediately on my phone to answer the gentleman, but in the summer, Easter, the Easter was as an opening weekend for the industry. Everybody getting out. We will get a testimonial at least one a week going forward now for the rest of till the closing down period in October, November of the when a lot of social bikers park it for the winter. I'm not saying you, Bruce, because you're 12 months, but no, and so. It's hard for me not to sound as if I'm exaggerating when I'm talking about testimonials, because we get so many. I went to a biker group meeting in Rotherham a month and a half ago, 6 weeks ago, and there were 25 people there. The guy who was running the meeting has had a major life-saving experience in a Helite. So he'd sold 17 to his mates.
Wow.
Right? And seven people who didn't have them turned up at the meeting. Everybody went home with an air jacket. And that's when you meet a person like Lee, not me, when you meet a person like me who's had a life-saving experience.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing fine as a small French brand. We're not down easy. We're not the big stars, but the products are delivering great results. And that's why I'm enjoying a podcast with you, because if when we launched Helite 10 years ago, if it hadn't worked, we'd be long gone. It was very hard work getting this product going in this country because it was expensive and it was innovative and there was no track record. We had no track record. We had no testimonials. But once testimonials come, it helps people.
I know that's not BS, because when you wear one of these vests, folks, people come up and chat to you. People will come up and they'll ask how you're finding it if they had no experience of wearing one. Or the other side of it is you get people coming up who just tell you their story about how, it saved their life, or they've had this accident, that accident when wearing it, or they know somebody that's been wearing it. So, it is really common when you're out wearing one of these vests for people to come up and just start, giving you these testimonials just as a customer. So, they're definitely doing the job, folks. There's no denying it. Absolutely none. Next one, King Bespoke Creations. How you doing, Chris? How easy is it to reset the vest after use? Is it realistically a reusable item or a throwaway by another one? Well, we covered that earlier.
The element is a throwaway. For the gentle questions. It takes. I'm very experienced, so I can change a canister probably in under a minute. But I would expect someone who's never done it to take between 3 and 4 minutes, probably, to do the process. It really isn't difficult. It is a roadside change for a customer who's away from his base, or anybody who's touring or traveling anywhere. If you've got a spare, you can change it at the roadside in 3 or 4 minutes. An electronic one, Bruce, as you're aware, probably even lower, even quicker than that, because it's just a simple unscrew, unclip, unscrew, screw new in and clip in. So that's probably a 2 minute or a 1 minute process. It's certainly not much more than that.
It would have been, but when mine detonated, oh God, I didn't actually unscrew the canister until probably a month, 2 months ago. So it'd been sat in my garage, having gone off for 3 months, 4 months. So it was really hard to get it out, because obviously these canisters, folks, if you've ever used one of the puncture repair kits, when that canister activates and it releases all the CO2 out, it gets incredibly cold, doesn't it?
Yeah, it always makes a mark. People think there's a mark on the product. It goes, the black ones go white.
Yes,
around the back, because
that's right.
They leak CO2 in certain parts.
Yeah. So mine had been activated, obviously, and then I just left it. It's just been left in situ like that. So it took some to get it to unscrew. But I know from previous experience, it literally just unscrews really easily. It's no problem at all. And then you literally just fold the actual airbag back into the pockets.
The airbag is at maximum compression for around 10 seconds. And then it will take 7, 8, 9 minutes to go down. As a natural thing. And there really is, because the airbag is contained inside a sock, we call it, really. There's nothing to do. It doesn't need repacking, or it really is very simple. It goes up and it will go down again. And there is, once the air's out after 7 or 8 minutes, if you take out the canister, the air goes down much faster, because that acts as a big hole to release the air. So once the canister's out, it'll go down very fast. And literally 30 seconds to a minute, it's empty with the canister out. So then there's nothing much to do other than put a new one in. But no, it's not complicated.
Yeah, job done. Now, this is a contentious one. This one. Now, the chap who left this comment, he actually DM'd me and he said, look, I'm not being an arsehole. I've done that to try and spark a bit of engagement because of what has happened with Fort9 and Bennett's. So he's a Canadian chap. OTBP.moto is his Instagram. Said, motorcycle airbags, the next Gore-Tex marketing effort directed at the gullible masses. Case in point, Fort9's latest video on motorcycle padding that includes peer-reviewed studies as to their effectiveness. Now, if you were to go onto this post on my Instagram, folks, you'll see there are a lot of comments and the feedback to that. We've covered a lot of this. You know, we've spoken about Ryan's vid, and we've spoken about Bennett's vid as well. So I don't think we need to spend too much time in this. The benefits from the airbag are totally separate, I would say, to the motorcycle armor. If you bring armor in, as you said, it definitely adds to it. You know, you get an added benefit for sure. But the airbags themselves are separate to just plain like D3 armor type thing. It's a different kettle of fish, isn't it?
Different results.
Yeah, for sure. So the bloke almost apologized when he DM'd me. He was just like, I just wanted some engagement. So I was like, all right, well, you let the fuel, what you call it, the fuel there, the paper. You let the paper. Biker Yog. I've got mixed feelings about these vests. My biggest concern is the government will require everyone to wear one, like seatbelts. Now, you touched on this earlier. You don't think that's going to happen?
My opinion. It's only my opinion. I think that obviously racing, MotoGP, British Superbikes next year, I understand.
Okay.
And therefore, I fear for the track day consumer. I could see it being mandated on a track. Probably 5 years from now. I just have a feeling as the FIM are pushing this from the top. So as the FIM insist on MotoGP, and then it's going to cascade its way down the racing scene, which is why I think that airbags could be mandated on racetracks. But that I cannot see it being mainstream. The only way it could happen is if one of if one of the European governments decided that they were going to mandate them for whatever reason, and then it would be a conundrum then for the rest of Europe and for the UK. The Italians keep threatening to take the VAT off the whole thing, not just the airbag component, but take the VAT off the whole thing. So the VAT could come off, but I don't think so. But mandating, I can't see it. So I think the customers should relax and enjoy the sport, but I can't see it's going to be imposed on it. I just can't see it.
No, I think it should be a personal choice.
I mean, there would be a lot of new manufacturing required. The capacity is not in the world at the moment anything like to produce the goods to do that. Yeah.
I very much think this sort of stuff should be a personal choice. You know, we know you have to wear a helmet. I would almost go as far as to say, if you don't wear a helmet, if you don't want to wear a helmet, you know, should you be forced to wear a helmet? I think you're an idiot if you don't wear a helmet. But is it? I'm not. I don't know. I don't know, because it's a difficult one. Because if you say, well, you must wear a helmet and you must wear gloves, it's not too much of a leap to see them going, well, now airbags are available. You must have some form of airbag, you know, or back protector or something like that.
It took 15 years in the motor car industry from when it started being mandated. I mean, it's mandated now for the safety standards. You can't buy a car without an airbag. So I don't think it's going to come, but it's possible. But I think it's unlikely for at least 15, 20 years. At least I can't see it.
All right. You'll be safe then, Yog. I met Yog. I was over in the States a couple of weeks ago.
To relax, he's all right.
Well, he's American. Americans like their freedom. They guard that.
Enjoy it.
Good luck trying to get them in a helmet, some of them. Ad Callahan, he says, I fancy one of these. Well, get yourself along, helite.co.uk, and check it out. Bungle AIO. This will be interesting. He demonstrated one on me back in 2017, and I've used it ever since. Never actually needed its protection, but it's good to know it's there. Yeah, I bet you get what I get, is that if you're not wearing it when you go out, it gives you a right touch of the seconds. You're like, I'm sort of naked here. Somebody else, Sinky B72, just got one myself. Don't really notice it when riding. Hopefully never need to actually use it in anger. Well, fingers crossed for you, pal. Yeah. Rob Fryer 01, hi Teapot. I wear one of these as peace of mind for my family down here in New Zealand. I hope I never deploy it, but it's going to certainly save some important body parts if I do have an off. I have the high-vis one, and it stands out. I get all sorts of comments about the visibility. Yeah, you do a range of different vests there, don't you? You do the high-vis ones, and you do plain black. Do you do any others now?
It's difficult. We don't stock them. We can get orange and grey.
Yeah,
but it can 3-6 months. Not too quick for those. We try and cover orange, which is when orange was introduced by Helite, we thought it was going to be a massive seller. It just didn't sell. So both Helite and we burnt our fingers a bit, man. It's 5 or 6 years ago since we brought orange out. It hasn't sold. And I don't really know why. It looks good, but we sell a few. And we've got a few. We stock a few orange, but not red. We used to be able to get red. I think the Helite have just dropped red.
Yeah. But, it's sort of, for me, I remember when we spoke and you said, what colour do you want? And I was like, not the high vis. I don't want the high vis, just black. And I don't know, it's like, you just don't want to be a Nigel, you know, you don't want to be hello. You just don't want to be one of them. I know that they're safe and I know the benefit of it. But it's just like, no, I don't want that. I don't want that. What have we got here? SCG White. He said you should try wearing your helmet when it's activated. They're incredibly effective at immobilizing your spine. Well, that was the whole point, wasn't it? At the NEC, when you activated the one on me when I was wearing it, you are. In fact, I'll put that vid up, folks. It's probably played already during this podcast. But yeah, it properly immobilizes you. And if you've got that helmet on, your head is just stuck, doing the job, saving your neck. I'm assuming that's the whole point of it.
Yeah, well, the neck support is absolutely crucial because it's the combination of the holding of you've just described it, the holding of your torso straight. You can't control your torso in a motorbike crash. In the milliseconds when things have gone wrong, you could be twisted one way or another way. The Helite vest holds you still and sorry, not still, straight, and it supports the neck. It's absolutely critical because hyperextension can be fatal. That's going too far back, and that's trauma. That's nothing you can control with gravity and the flick back of your neck. It can be too much, and so that's a really important element, and it's a big safety advantage of the Helite because it's outside the jacket. As soon as you put them inside jackets, it's so much more difficult to stabilize the neck unless you've got a lot of stretch around the upper part of the jacket.
Yeah.
But no, it's a very important thing. It's all we're doing really is changing the odds. If you think about it, we're just reducing the odds of serious injury.
Yeah,
that's what we are doing.
Absolutely. Next one, Jen Royal or Royale. I've just got one, but I'm wondering if it can be worn under jackets. I've seen other brands under jackets, but I'm assuming the tether means it should be over the jacket. I use my jacket pockets all the time, and the vest covers them.
Yeah. Outside, please. The only jackets that can be worn, we're doing quite a lot with the blood bike community where they have those tabards, for example, and the vast majority of tabards, there is no issue with an air jacket because you can, in other words, you can put it under those. It's just that you can't put a Helite under a well-made motorbike jacket because the airbag is far too big. If it's a very small airbag and it's designed to go inside a jacket, that can be a different story. But those airbags don't deliver the same neck protection, and which is why it hasn't been. Helite are producing an under airbag. It'll be out later this year, but it's for under jackets. It's not going to stabilize the neck the same way as the ones that go outside. And I do think that's a very important safety benefit. Yeah,
there was an aspect that came up with me because I always wear a rucksack. Since I've passed my test, I've always worn the rucksack, the Kriega rucksack over the top. So I remember I said to you, like, what effect will the rucksack have? Can I wear the rucksack over the top? I remember you said, yeah, you can, but it has to be loose. And the problem I had was, I'm 20 odd stone, I'm a fat lump. So with the rucksack, even at its loosest, with just one buckle done up, it was still a little bit compact and Beijing for my liking. I could get away with it, but I did think to myself, if this vest goes off, I don't think it's going to end particularly well. And Kriega actually reached out to me and said, I see that you've got one of the Helite vests and you're wearing our rucksack. We can make extension pieces for you. So I was like, well, how does this work? So actually, it's a complimentary service, folk. Loads of you have been in touch because you've seen those extension things that I have on the vids. If you have a Kriega rucksack and you're a big person and you need them extended, or you've got the air vest and you want to put it over the top, contact Kriega. They'll ask you for some measurements. All you do is just measure. Basically, you put your rucksack on over your bike kit and the vest, and then they just ask you to measure a couple of points. They'll tell you exactly how to do it. You give them that, and they send them to you free of charge. They might make you pay postage, I think, maybe, but it's a couple of quid. So it's well worth doing. Right, okay, that's my 5 pence worth. That's that in. I get asked all the time, Peter, in comments, where'd you get, is that, what happens with them? So that's what it is, folk. Wallace World, say hello. I'm a Devon agent selling Helite jackets. I sell them and wear them, even green laning. Do you know Wallace World?
My salesman does.
Right, gotcha.
He's down in Devon, and I'm up in the north, so I don't cover that area.
All received.
Yeah.
13B Ben, great bit of kit, just wish they were a bit more affordable. Well, we kind of touched on that, really. Might come down in time, but not drastically. I think you just got to think, Ben, about investing in a good bit of kit. Do you know what I mean? Like, I will spend money on a good helmet. I'll spend money on good boots, on good bike gear. So, if you're going to get a vest, it's an investment.
It's really interesting. We're trying to build a second-hand market because we're the service centre up north. We are trying to build them. We went down to London for the London Bike Show. We went to Scotland. Scottish Bike Show 4 or 5 weeks ago. We took 8 second-hand vests, different sizes. They were all gone by the first day on the lunchtime. When we are selling second-hand at under £250 and they've been serviced, we're the service centre. They just sell.
You can make that up. The Scottish market went for the second hand.
We upset everybody in Scotland now.
No, you won't. They'll be like, no, that's good. I like that.
I was trying to do that. I was trying to make the point that if most people, the vast majority of our customers, have to consider buying these products. There are some very fortunate people who just buy it because they think it's a good product. They just buy it and spend the money.
Yeah.
What we have found when we are selling second-hand ones that may be 4 or 5 years old, we've checked them over, we've serviced them, we've put new components in them. They're absolutely fine for another 4 or 5 years. And when we're selling them between 150 and 275 pounds, the barrier to price comes away, and they are very, very fast selling. We buy all our own products back. Helite will buy anything under 10 years. We're not allowed to service anything over 10 years. Helite have told us that. So anything a 7, 8 year old, we'll buy it back because we'll put it out and we'll service it, put it out in the market, and it'll only be 150, 200 pounds. The problem before you say anything else is that there is we don't get enough availability. We can't stock a size range.
Yeah.
We don't have a large today.
Yeah.
I need a large. It's the biggest selling size. We haven't got any.
Yeah.
And so that is the problem. But in time, that might change. But we always think as each year comes, we'll have a nice second-hand range. We haven't got them. They don't last longer. And but if customers are interested and it's purely a money thing, email the company. If you know what size you are, tell them what size you are, what color you want. You go on a list here in the office.
Gotcha.
And as they come in, tick them off. The customer gets a call. If he wants it, great. If he doesn't want it, no problem. Down to the next one. And that's how we do it.
Nice. Yeah, those details will be down below, folks. So make sure you check that out in the description. The email address will be there. Liam R42, love my H move. What is the craziest story you've had back from a customer? I'd imagine that's Lee, is it? Or have you had any even sort of more significant? Crazy.
When you say crazy, I think of wild and I think of stunts.
Right.
So Lee's is the finest testimonial, I think, probably. Craziest. I don't know. You've got me there. Craziest. Because of how I define crazy. I'm not sure how do you define crazy, Bruce? Crazy. What's crazy? Is that reckless? Or is he,
I took it as in, like significant or like the best testimonial type story that you've heard that really highlights what the vest can do, the real benefits of the vest.
Okay, customer last year touring around the Far East, went touring around the Far East, electronic vest like yours, and crashed into a river. Lost his bike. The vest inflated, it worked.
It floated down the river.
He lost the bike, it floated down the river, and he got out. And I think that's probably the craziest. So the best work in the river as well. It's not somewhere we want you to fall off.
But it acts as a life preserver as well. There you go.
Yeah, we have sold very few to jet skiers, but we have to keep them in place.
Are you kidding?
Ours go down too quickly. Maximum compression 10 minutes. 7 or 8 minutes, it's gone down. So it's not actually long enough to be a life vest in its current format. But we can put a valve in them that keeps them up for a half an hour.
Gotcha. God, there's so many different markets where I suppose this can be applied. Didn't think of it. WT447, are there any good links to test videos where the vest can be seen to perform whilst being triggered? There aren't that many to be found on YouTube.
There's some crash videos on the Helite YouTube where we're testing the products and testing the speed of inflation and showing what happens when you crash into a car. Anybody who's going to crash into a car, if you get a millisecond, hit the bonnet or the boot. Try to avoid the side door. It really isn't a good place to hit a car. But that's a flippant remark. But don't know. But we can. This report that I referred to, I can make. I'll send it down to you, Bruce. You can have a copy of that. Show it to anybody who's interested.
Cool.
There isn't that much. That's the problem. There isn't that much. The Helite testing is all we've got, and that's videos of inflation speeds and testing crashing into cars. But certainly, probably we've done as much as anybody.
And that's on your YouTube.
Yeah, but on Helite
YouTube
test, it should find it.
Yeah. Again, there'll be links to that, folks, on this one as well in the description. Imandromes, be curious to know how they fit on women like me who have their own reasonably sized airbags.
We've never failed to fit one yet.
There we go. Actually,
and if she wants the special fitting service, email the company, please, and ask for Peter. We give her a special fitting, but no, I understand the issue. But we have never failed yet. We have extended the straps, Bruce. You're not a small man, but we've fitted people considerably bigger than you. And I mean a lot bigger. And we just extend the straps.
Yeah.
It means there's a bit of a gap down the middle, but the airbag still works. In fact, one guy tested it. Yeah, a proper hit, a BMW, went straight over the top, and he's the biggest we've ever fitted. And we had to extend his fitting straps.
Wow.
And he was very happy with the outcome.
Just going back to what the lady said there, there's another lady, Jen Royale. She's replied and she said, I have one and they're fairly adjustable with Velcro straps at various points, top to bottom, to adjust accordingly. There you go. Job done. Last one from Instagram, Ed Carey. There's loads of things I'd like to do to my bike, but the money is going to be spent on one of these. Well, that's good to hear, Ed. I'm glad you're pulling the pin, so to speak, and going for it, mate. You won't regret it. Okay, we will fire across to Facebook. Have you still got some time here, Peter? There's a few on there. Yeah, okay, cool. Again, I haven't had a chance to pre-read most of these, but I imagine there's going to be a lot of duplicates from what we've already covered. Advanced riding techniques. ART. I've had them just on the podcast, actually. Great guy, top product. Met him when he came to the dealership 10 years ago now. That good stuff. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying them, Steve. Stephen Rawson, the impact protection seems clear, but I'm curious about abrasion resistance. If you were sliding at speed rather than bouncing, would the road surface just grind straight through it? I've been tempted for a while, but it's a big investment.
We are told that it's approximately 150 miles an hour on tarmac.
Wow. Before
it'll burst. After 150, they start bursting on impact with the road. At 150, because obviously 0 to 150, you've seen what do aircraft come in at about 160, 170, or maybe a bit more. That's the smoke on the tire. That's that first impact on the tire. So that's a big hit. But it's an approximate. It's an approximate 150. But try and ease off a bit to that particular customer. Pull it back a bit.
Gotcha. There's a comment here by Mike Bullivant. I was just trying to have a quick pre-read through this, Peter, as we were chatting on that last one. I think it's basically what we've already discussed about the Fort9 and bike social vids. I'd love to see the actual energy transmission test showing it give 50 times the protection of a back protector. There have been several videos about armour recently, and by that standard, you'd be indestructible in an airbag vest. If anyone has any tests that have been carried out, I'd be interested. Basically. Well, we've covered that, really, haven't we? Like armor and an air vest, totally different. What Ryan's talking about is trauma. Is like the blunt, the blunt trauma on the. Sorry, go.
The hit.
Yeah, and it's undeniable when you look at the test that Peter's already mentioned there. In fact, you'll be able to download that in the description if you want to have a look. All the evidence is there. Jason Goodwill ordered a jacket at the Scottish Bike Show, had an airbag vest for 10 years, thankfully never needed. Very expensive, but very worth it if you can afford it. Good stuff. I think it's just a load of people, mate, saying that they love it. Paul Fiddler bought the rucksack version of these at the Scottish It's a lot of Scots buying it, Peter. A lot of Scots. Brand new ones as well, not second-hand ones. Although he does says, I bought the rucksack at the Scottish Motorcycle Show a few weeks ago, and I'm looking forward to receiving it.
Sorry. It's coming.
Neil Jordan, how often do you need to change the CO2 canister on the vest? Was that every 2 years, you said?
Three is the statutory. Yeah.
Got you. Let me have a quick look. Fork sensor. I knew there was one about a fork sensor. Ian Allen, I have the electronic vest, but not the fork sensor. Can you ask if the sensor is recommended? Now, I've got the fork sensor, but I hadn't fitted it to my last bike, but I'm going to be fitting it to this new one. What's the benefit of the fork sensor?
Static crashing. Fundamentally, maybe a shock sensor would have been a better name. But fork sensor, it's for static crashing. You're minding your own business. Somebody clatters you from behind. Look, if you are thrown physically by the trauma of the accident, 12 to 15 miles an hour, the vest should go off. But if you weren't, it might not. And so that by having the fork sensor, it fires it immediately. And so it's covering basically static or trauma hits from different sides.
That didn't register with me.
We have a delivery problem. Anybody who's listening, there's going to be somebody out there who knows that we can't deliver, and we haven't delivered for a long time, and they are going to come back on track. I'm very sorry to anybody who's listening who's waiting for fork sensor, but there's been a software glitch. There was initially a microchip couldn't supply issue, couldn't get them for 6 months. Then there's been a software glitch, and you add the two products together, and basically a thick end of a year's gone by now, and I'm so sorry. They will be back on stream as soon as we can, but it's a good product to get when you can get one. But please don't buy one tomorrow because I can't deliver it.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I just had a quick read through the rest of the comments, mate. And basically, if you want testimonials, folks, head to the Facebook, the TeapotOne Facebook, and have a look through the comments under this post about this podcast. There's lots of people telling you how either it saved them or it saved a mate that they know. So that's where you want to go. Right, that's all the questions done, Peter. Thank you very much, mate. I've kept you for nearly 2 hours.
Oh, it's all good. Thank you. It's been good. I've enjoyed it. So thank you very much.
No, absolute pleasure, bud. Before you go, I'll pass the floor over to you. Please plug anything. The floor's yours. Say what you like. Promote what you like.
Oh, well, look, I just thank all our customers, actually, for buying them. You know, we've something around about 14,500 customers to thank. So
wow.
It's a significant amount. And it's those customers that are the reason for this podcast, because it's those testimonials that you've just talked about, Bruce, coming in. They are coming from people who are very happy. And, you know, as I said earlier on, if these things didn't work, we'd be long gone. You know, we'd be long.
Yeah, absolutely.
A small brand in a motorcycle, in a big world of the big brands in motorcycling, we can't compete if things don't work. But we're very fortunate they do work. And, you know, I do believe it's the second most important item for today's motorcycle customer in 2024, because it can save your life.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. From my end, I owe you an apology, Peter, because you gave me a vest 2 years ago now, maybe even 3 years. And I was going to spend a year testing it and then do a vid. I haven't done a vid yet. There is one coming, I promise you. I've been chatting with your daughter. I think is it your daughter that handles some of your marketing on Instagram? Yeah, I've been chatting with her about some ideas about how I could... Because I kind of thought maybe in that year something might happen. You never know, you know, something might happen where I could show it, yeah. And touch wood, nothing did happen or has happened as yet, which is great. But I want to highlight what the vest can do in some form, but I also want to do it in some novel form. So I'm trying to get my thinking cap on. There will be content coming, I promise you. But I just want to make it something memorable and something that really highlights the vest. From my own point of view, folks, 100% get one. If you can afford it, get one. If you can't afford it, try and get on that list for a second-hand one. It's a great bit of kit. The amount of people that have told me that, you know, it's effectively saved them. If you want real evidence, speak with Lee Vigor, Buddy the Biker Dog. I did the podcast with him. You can listen to that podcast or just drop him a line on the socials. I'll leave his link down below and he'll tell you in his own words, straight from the horse's mouth, what the vest did for him. Peter, thank you very much for coming on, mate. Appreciate you giving up your evening.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Folks, hope you've enjoyed it. Loads of links down below. Make sure you check all that out and give Helite a follow. Apart from that, keep doing your thing. Look after those that you love. Getting out there whenever you can. But most importantly, live your life. Woo-ha!
Thank you. Cheers, Bruce.
Dude, right, let me stop that for you.